I'm in the football.
And they call you.
And they say it's urgent, and your wife's at the hospital, and so I'm off to the hospital. And there must have been a babysitter, because I know Tracy wasn't there. I mean, I was there waiting, and I was quasi-complaining, just kidding, that I was here before he was, how come his baby came first, you know? Well, you guys were born and you were both premature, but it was the fourth set of twins, and you know this, the fourth set of twins born in a 24-hour period at Mercy. And that was actually national news. And I had a client in Tokyo, and he sent me a copy of the Stars and Stripes, which I'm sure your mother has somewhere, showing her lying in bed with you, the two of you, holding you two in the Stars and Stripes, and somebody sent me that.
Far out.
But I know she has that somewhere. But then you came home, and of course, being preemies, you had to have 2 ounces of milk or formula every 2 hours. And you guys were so little, it took you damn near 2 hours to drink 2 ounces. So I would come home from my office, usually around 4 in the afternoon, and your mother would go to bed. And then she'd get up at midnight, and then I would go to bed. And the next night, I would come home and stay up till midnight, and she would go to bed, and then I would... there's nobody there. It's the wind. No, that's my doorbell. But they say having twins is twice as hard as it's not twice as hard. It's 4 times as hard.
Sorry, Dad.
Well, and then for a long time, I mean, we were poor. Your mother had to go to the laundromat, and you're talking about all these dirty diapers and stuff, and we couldn't afford a diaper service. So one year for Christmas, and I thought I was doing a wonderful thing, but I bought her a new washing machine, and because the washer was in the garage, I bought her a sweatshirt so she wouldn't be cold, and she did not think that was a very nice gift.
Dad.
I mean, it was really an extravagant thing to do, but at least she didn't have to go to the laundromat anymore.
Yeah.
In those days, we had clotheslines. And it was just starting to mention, like in the Korean War, after boot camp, I went to Oklahoma for a year to go to school. And then I was on a transport going to Hawaii, but I didn't know I was going to Hawaii. I thought I was going to Korea. And I didn't know till I got to Hawaii. And I was stationed at Hickam, of all places. And because of our squadron, we didn't have a big barracks. We were in the Air Police barracks. Can't help it. That's just the door.
Just the wind.
That's the wind. Anyway, we have private rooms in Hawaii, and it was kind of nice because when you have a midnight, you work at midnight, so all this kind of stuff. Oh Lord.
It's okay. It's okay.
We'll edit all this out.
We'll make it work.
But when I first get there, this first-class bosun mate comes over. He says, "All right, go over that window, get your sheets and pillowcases, and follow me." Well, we don't have sheets and pillowcases in the Navy. We had mattress pads. We didn't have sheets and pillows. Yeah, boats. Yeah, you bet. And I go get it, and got sheets. And our skipper, he didn't care. As long as your room was clean, you didn't have to. You could decorate it any way you wanted to. But after your mother arrived in Hawaii, then I wasn't in the barracks anymore. But that was really good duty for 2 years. And then my last year, I was in Alameda. I first went to San Diego, and that's when I was notified that the baby was dead. And and she was going to have to carry it to term. So I put in for a hardship discharge. And, I mean, I was only less than a year to go in the Navy when so the Red Cross verified I had a job when I got out. Bill Shimon was going to give me a piece of property that I could build a house on in Modesto. And I got all the verification, and then the Methodist minister who married us said this man should be home so he can establish a normal home relationship with his wife, because she's having a really hard time. So I go to say, I was born and raised a Catholic, so I went to see the priest with all these papers, because if you don't have the church behind you, you're dead. So I'm talking to the priest, and everything's fine until he gets to this letter from this Methodist minister who married us. And he said, well, he's established a normal home relationship. I'd be living in a tent for all I know. I said, Father, I didn't come here to argue semantics. I need your help. He said, well, there's nothing I can do for you. And he just folded up the papers. So I was quite upset, and I asked for permission to see the skipper of that squadron, who was a really good guy. And I told him my story. He picks up the phone. I'm still in his office. He picks up the phone. First he calls in a chief, petty officer. He says, I want this man's locker cleaned out. I want him checked out, because you have to check out everywhere. Make sure you don't owe any money at the laundry or haircuts or whatever. You check him out. He picks up the phone and he said, this is Commander so-and-so of VC6. VC61. I'm transferring Weddell, and he asked me where I wanted to go, and I said, I'd like to go to Moffett Field. Where I really wanted to go was Crow's Landing, which is 6 miles from Modesto. He says, I can get you to Moffett. I can't get you to Crow's Landing. And you'd be better off in Alameda, because you're on the right side of the bay as far as commuting home. So he picks up the phone and says, I'm transferring this man to Alameda. I expect this to be approved. And it was approved, and I was in my car 30 minutes later. And in fact, he offered to fly me to Modesto, except I had a car there. So I was home every weekend after that. And then, I had a really good friend. He was a Lieutenant J.G. We were really good buddies. And he was a pilot. And most people, it's called a FASRON. Most people in a FASRON wind up there because they've either screwed up somewhere, or they're short timers and there's no place you could put them. And when I checked into the FASRON, they said, "Oh, by now I'm second class petty officer." They said, "Oh, we need the von Hammershard needs second class petty officer machinist mate." Sir, look at my orders. Stamped shore duty only. He said, how the hell did you do that? So I stayed at Alameda. But Lieutenant Underhill, he was sent there because, well, he was an incorrigible, almost like Hogan, I guess, in Hogan's Heroes. He was doing flip rolls in F9F jet over Modesto. And it wouldn't come out of the roll, and he had to eject, and the plane was upside down, and the plane went into a grain field. And of course, all the visitors just trampled down the grain field, and so he was transferred out of a fighting outfit to a, quote, shit can outfit, as they called us. But we would go places, like we'd go over to the Army Depot, or the Navy Depot, and get Navy surplus. And he commandeered a Jeep for me. And I had to my own personal Jeep at Alameda. And, well, he broke another rule in the FASRON. He flew a Panther jet underneath the Bay Bridge, and that's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that. So what does our skipper do? He sentences him to a night of night flying. There's nothing more that kid wanted to do than fly airplanes. So he and I, almost every night, would fly to Modesto. And we would go out to dinner and visit tourists. Well, we wound up in Modesto one night. We're getting ready to leave, and the Beechcraft has twin engines. And the starter went out on one of them. It wouldn't turn over. He said, well, you hand crank it. I said, no, you can't hand crank it. You can't hand crank this. He says, well, maybe if I taxi it, it'll start the windmill. Maybe I can get it started that way. I said, it ain't going to work, Lieutenant, but he does, and it doesn't. Well, we forget to close out our flight plan. And the whole West Coast is scrambled looking for a Beechcraft that should have been back in Alameda, not Modesto, because nobody ever knew we went to Modesto. And so the next morning, it was a couple hours later. He said, "Oh Christ, I gotta!" And so he calls the base. And so the next morning, the skipper himself flew into Modesto, and they just threw the starter out on the ground and said, "When you get back, report to my office." Well, that was my job to replace the starter. So when we get back, he said, "Now don't say a word. Don't say a word. Let me talk. Let me talk." So we go in. We're literally facing a captain's mast. And the skipper said, Bill Underhill was his name. He said, "What did you have in mind?" He said, "Sir, it was for the morale of the troops. This man's wife is very, very sick, and he had to see her, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have time, and then I forgot about it because of the emergency to close out my flight plan." And I said, "All right." we walked out scot-free. But there was a place in San Francisco called, I forget the name of it, a very fancy place down at the beach. Anyway, he and I went in there one time, and I was in dress blues. And it was a fancy restaurant, and they did not want me in there in dress blues. Now, Lieutenant Underhill was in his dress blues, but he had gold on him. And Ricky's at the Beach was the name of it. I think it may still be there. So they asked for my ID card, and I'm over 21. And they won't serve me. So, well, that could be a fake. And Underhill, we were the same age. And he says, "I'm telling you, this man is over 21. "Well, I'm sorry, sir, I can't serve him." He said, "I want to see the manager." So the manager comes down. He said, "My name is Lieutenant J.G. Underhill. I am on the Admiral's staff," which he wasn't, "in Comair Pack. This man will not serve this man. How would you like an off-limits sign posted outside your door?" The manager, "There's no charge, bring him a drink, lunch is on the house." But he had guts like that. I mean, just he'd be so assertive. I'm the Admiral's staff. He wasn't on the Admiral's staff. He was.
It's unverifiable.
You tell a lie to defend a truth.
Did you stay friends with him after the war?
No, he was from Tennessee, and
Sam McGee.
at first he wouldn't have anything to do with me. And then he found out I had 2 years of college, and he had 2 years of college, and then all of a sudden we became buddies. And he wanted to know why I didn't become a pilot, and I told him when I was getting married, and you couldn't go to NAVCAD and be a pilot. And then just before I got out, Lieutenant Moxley, he was my division officer. He talked me into staying in the Navy and going to OCS. And he says, "You're more than qualified. You won't have any problem." So I went back to Modesto, and I was telling Bill I'm thinking about making a Navy career. And they've offered me officers training school. He said, "Well, why would you want to stay in the Navy?" I said, "Well, it really offers a lot of security." Bill said, "You want security? Go rob a bank. They'll give you security." He says, "You're too damn young to be out security. You got time for plenty of mistakes." So I didn't stay in.
Thank God. We could have been Navy brats. Oh my God.
But see, again, here's where Bill could boil things down to its lowest denominator. Here he is with Parkinson's. His mind works perfectly. He's shaking. He can't even go to the bathroom without mother helping him. And he didn't have a lot of money, but he was very comfortable. And so his buddies used to come by there, and all his buddies are still working, and they come to visit. "Bill, you should have been on the highway. Bill, you should have advertised. Bill, you should have done this. Bill, you should have done that." And he just sat there and said, "Yeah, just think about it, done it right." He just chopped people off at the knees. I've seen him do that so many times that. Well, that's it. Can we stop?
Sure.
Okay.
This has been great,
I
Dad.
don't know if you got what you wanted, but
I got
Oh,
more.
yeah, we got
Okay.
way more than we wanted.